Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as it is a game day eve to game day eve. I don't know. Like Thursdays are just kind of one of those days, guys, where it's like, I mean, we're there. We got NFL football tonight, right? Maybe a little college football. We got college football news to discuss. And, you know, it's just one of those days where it's like the calm before the storm, if you will.
Yeah, I do like Thursday. I feel like I can make it at this point. You know, it's just a couple days away. Tuesdays are the worst for me. Wednesdays, you just kind of feel stuck. But, you know, I got to tell you, I'm tired. I am tired. I was trying to turn it in early last night. But my dog, which you guys know this, he's 13. He's just getting old, and he's been like back and forth to the vet. You know, it's sad. Like, it's been weighing on me. But that dude caught a burst of energy last night with his squeaker toy, and he went nuts until like well after midnight. So I stayed up with him, but it was good for the soul. You know, I'm sleepy, but the soul feels good today.
Well, and our pot of that nature would have been up 30 seconds earlier if it weren't for Slim.
Yeah, that's a fact.
We like literally like started the show, had the whole things of that nature countdown, and then as soon as it was time for us to start talking, he just started squeaking around on that toy. So we kind of laughed and just restarted. But you know, just he's been active here lately. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I guess like we all are. I have my thing too because I scratched the crap out of my nose in the middle of the night. I don't know what it is, and so this is. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because it's my evidence for all you idiots out there that think I wear makeup. You think I would cover this up right there? I'm not. So I'm not. No makeup. No makeup is on me today or ever. So it doesn't matter. No one's going to believe me. Anyways.
What would that is that concealer? Is it foundation? For all the women who tune into the show, let us know what John might need.
Of which there are many.
Yes. Yeah. Let me know. Yeah. Let me know what when I go over to Ulta Beauty, you know, whatever that place is.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Go over there and let me know what. I don't know. Do I get Kim Kardashian's makeup line? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. Well, I'll look into that. Thank you. Yeah, for all the advice you all give on me for that. But hey, we still got a lot of things other to talk about. A lot more important things than my face. So we'll get into some of the things with Razorback basketball. Have some updates on that too, as well as some pretty significant news. At least I think it is kind of cool about Razorbacks and all that. But guys, you were tweeting about it. I know I was too, like last night, and all the reports about the Pac-12. It looks like the Pac-12 is making a comeback, man. Looks like it's starting to make a serious comeback.
Let's go, man. It's a better world when the Pac-12 is in it. I miss Pac-12 after dark. And I do think it makes too much sense to not have like a predominant conference league, whatever, out on the West Coast. You know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting that I know Oregon State and Washington State, they were trying to do that scheduling alliance with the Mountain West for this next year or two and trying to figure things out. And it turns out they're just like poaching all the best schools from there. So that's pretty cool. I like the ones that are coming in. That makes sense. But they've got 6 now and you got to get to 8, you know? And so it's like, okay, who else are they going to get? Does Cal and Stanford realize that what they're doing in the ACC is stupid, although it's maybe a more stable situation to be in? Or do they just keep poaching from the Mountain West or whoever else down there? I know Dennis Dodd was saying like anyone west of the Mississippi, and he included Memphis in that, which was an error on his part. But like it's all kind of fair game. Those mid majors, I guess.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the Mountain West because that was kind of my first thing. Is like, what happens to the Mountain West if all this goes down? I think the answer is the WAC. Y'all remember the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference? Which apparently doesn't play football anymore. Like, I don't think it's a football conference at all. Maybe this is the path forward. You have the Mountain West just kind of becomes the Pac-12 in this new era, and then we bring back the WAC. Louisiana Tech used to be in the WAC, and they used to go to Hawaii. That was a wild time. But, I think it's an interesting time. But, yeah, there definitely needs to be some type of West Coast presence because I really do think if there's no Pac-12, it's going to get ugly for every every West Coast school not named, USC, or maybe you could make an argument for like UCLA or like obviously Oregon's going to be fine. But it would be really tough for some of those like Washington States of the world.
I tell you what I'd do. right away is I would get Gonzaga on board from a basketball standpoint. I know like football sells and everything like that, but I would get Gonzaga locked in from a basketball standpoint. That would be big for them. Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty good options out there. I'm kind of surprised that UNLV wasn't involved in this right away.
Yeah.
You want the Vegas I guess they have a market. They're in Vegas, but that seems like it would make a lot of sense. Memphis is one that they've talked about. I know that they've kind of been looking around for opportunities. Tulane would be interesting. I mean, it wouldn't be on par with the Big Four or whatever, but you could still have a pretty solid little league there, I think.
Well, and also too, like, speaking of the UNLV thing, which I agree with you, Nevada is kind of the one too, where it's like, they've had football success. I know they had basketball success mainly when Muss was there, but maybe that's who they look to add, or maybe is a future with that. But Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State, all the states are the ones that are going to be in it, because then you have Oregon State, Washington State. Just call it the state conference at this point. Just roll with that. But that was like, I kept wondering, we all knew that it wasn't going to be the Pac-2. Like there was no way they're just going to have two teams. And now it's look like those are going to be joining as part of the 26-27 season. But I'm with you, man. It's like you got to have some West Coast flavor, and you got to, honestly, for a while there too, if it wasn't for the USC dominance in the mid 2000s, and then like the Oregon aura that they had, the cool factor that they had, and the Marcus Mariota stuff, it's like the West Coast would be struggling in the football side of things too. But I'm just glad that it's expanding, that it's continuing to go on. But I just don't know what it's going to look like, here in a year or two, because then, what if some other teams jump ship from a different conference and go over? I just don't know what the end game is going to be for the overall conference slate.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And it's not just the Pac-12, it's everybody. It's really hard to decide where this is going to go. And it really impacts, I think, the most some of these traditional powerhouses in basketball that don't have football, or they aren't necessarily a brand in football. Because that's what sells. Like that's what's driving all of these decisions. So like the whole UConn thing to the Big 12 that got shut down, a big part of the reason for that was because of the football program. It's like they have one, but does that really add anything here? And they didn't care what they brought to the table for basketball. Like the same thing with like a Villanova. They're a borderline blue blood in basketball. But what are you going to do with them if this really turns into the haves and the have-nots situation? We talked about Gonzaga. I guess Duke is probably far enough along as a football program to where they wouldn't apply there. But it's crazy. Like this thing is going to move around all over the place. And like I assume Arkansas is just gonna stay put right where they're at in the SEC. But who the hell knows like how much the league is going to grow or what's going to change? It's crazy, man. It's just a completely different landscape for college sports.
Arkansas, future Pac-12 champions football. Yeah, who says no?
They would win that
but
league right now.
Yeah, we can compete for championships tomorrow. No, I do think that this also some of the schools that left the Pac-12 that went to they kind of just felt like they had to, like Cal Berkeley, who's in the ACC, just got a huge win over Auburn. It's like they should definitely be in the Pac-12. Utah, you can make a case. I understand Oregon's probably not going to want to leave the Big Ten. USC, like they're probably going to stay put where they're at. But like Utah, go ahead and go back. Utah should go back and be Pac-12 champions every year in football. Cal, same thing. Maybe even like someone like an SMU who just recently joined the ACC. It's like,
that would make sense.
Is that really where you want to be? I don't know.
Well, and I also like doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I'm like, if y'all are doing this is your time now to change the name. Stop with the specific numbers, because no one's going to have those specific numbers anymore. Like just do something different. Just call it the Pac conference, the Pacific Conference, something like that. It's so dumb when it's the Big 12 and there's 20 dadgum teams in there. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Was it the Big 10 or the Big 12 where they were flirting with the idea of like getting the conference names, like getting a sponsor for it? Like a business,
Big 12.
like we have with the bowl games. That would be weird, like the Aflac League or whatever. Yeah, that would be kind of crazy. But yeah, like and I think, Andrew, to your point, you're talking about Cal, Berkeley, and I think about Stanford, although I guess they're both pretty prestigious academically, but if you don't care about athletics and those schools really don't, then just be in a place that makes sense geographically.
save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, traveling and all that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense, but it's not, I'm not saying it's a scary thing, but if you're like a Razorback fan, for instance, you should be okay. Cause listen, you're in the SEC, you're not going anywhere. As much as some of the people like the yearly, national writer be like, here's why Arkansas should move to the Big 12. Like that stuff is so like disgusting and like over the done. But it is interesting because it's like when Texas, first we'll start way back when Texas A&M and Missouri joined. People were saying, "Oh man, how's Missouri or A&M going to impact Arkansas in the recruiting? Like, it's all of a sudden those Texas kids that were coming to Arkansas aren't going to do it anymore." And then you got Texas and Oklahoma that have joined, and people keep bringing that up. The question I have is, if the SEC continues to expand, whether it's adding Florida State, Clemson, or whoever, does that dilute or limit Arkansas even more as a team inside of this conference? And I'm talking about generally speaking, or is that something that's just, hey, you're just adding more teams? It doesn't really matter in the end because you still got to win games regardless of who you go up against.
Yeah, I don't think it would matter. I guess it would almost have to be anyone who's been added. I think they could hurt or like impact what Arkansas is, capable of doing, whether it's, recruiting or just their footprint and their draw. I feel like it's already been added, right? I mean, like you've got Oklahoma in there now. The Texas schools have come in. I don't know that Oklahoma State would move the needle if they were at it, but like I don't think a Florida State or a Clemson would really do that. I also wonder how motivated the SEC would be to even mess with that. Like I understand where this thing is headed and all, but like what good does adding Florida State do for you? Like you already have why oversaturate your market there? Same thing with Clemson, in South Carolina. I don't know. I don't know how much money they make off that.
I really think it's almost gotten to a point where there's not as much impact. Like when A&M first moved to the conference, I remember thinking that, like, oh man, that's going to be a big deal because, Arkansas had a nice little in there with those Texas kids. But now that there's multiple Texas schools in the conference, you got Oklahoma in there. It's like it almost, and they're also taking players from Alabama, Georgia, whoever. So it almost just kind of raises the middle of the bottom of the conference and takes away from the top a little bit. I feel like Arkansas is weirdly one of those schools that's not as affected by it. It's not like Arkansas is recruiting 5-star kids anyway, for football, at least, I should say. So it's not like, I mean, if there's been a big noticeable impact, it hasn't been reflected in the rankings. Arkansas was kind of a top 25 to 29-ish recruit ranking school 10 years ago. They're in that same kind of range now. I don't see them going up or down anytime soon.
Well, and that was always my main point when people would bring that up about Arkansas is, the recruiting element, like you mentioned, Andrew. And for instance, baseball. Has Arkansas had any drop off in baseball recruiting since the expansion into the SEC? No. Basketball, it has never been higher, really, maybe since the Nolan Richardson days in recruiting in that. Even if you go further down the line, softball, I think the recruiting is as great as it's ever been. You've had just all the other sports, gymnastics. Players and high-level players are coming in at probably a higher clip than they ever have. The only one that hasn't moved, like you said, is football. But football hasn't gone down. It hasn't been like, oh, man, now all of a sudden you're not getting these big-time players anymore. There were a few classes that you had that were really good that people reflect, but that was mainly because of the in-state class. Like it had nothing to do with the state of Texas or anything. So that's what has always been my argument of people saying like, oh, you don't want Arkansas shouldn't want these teams in because then it'll dilute the product or dilute whatever. It's like, no. And people also point to the past 10 years for Arkansas football saying, well, that's why. I was like, that's not why the reason Arkansas has not been great in football the past 10 years has nothing to do with the conference realignment. It has more to do with not having the right coaches and the right pieces in place and not being good at that. Like, do you think if Bobby Petrino was still the coach after in 2012, 2013, that when A&M and Missouri joined, to be like, oh, he starts tanking it and winning 6 games? No. But that's the whole thing is that it's like, I keep going back when Frank Broyles made that jump, that risky jump to the SEC. Honestly, it's the greatest thing he ever did because with Arkansas, you don't have to worry about this stuff. You don't have to worry about, oh man, are we going to have a home to go to? You're safe and sound in the SEC and they're not kicking anyone out. So keep making your money, keep having success and keep doing it. That's what I say.
Yep.
Enjoy not being poor. That's
yes.
what you should do.
Yeah. So, like I think every year they're averaging an increase of like $8.5 to $10 million per year increase each year just by being in the conference. That's good money. That's a lot. That's really good money to do. So let's see. I know we'll get to your chats here in just a second, folks, as well. This was also something that happened right before we started today's show. What do y'all think? Razorback Field or, Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium at Frank Broyles Field officially will have sponsors on Saturday on the field of play. You'll have two of them. And stop me if you guys have ever heard of these companies before. You'll have Walmart and Tyson both on the field on Saturday and moving forward. What do y'all think?
I'm fine with it. I'm not bothered by that. I like it better than putting a bunch of stuff on the uniforms, personally.
Yeah, you don't like it looking like NASCAR?
No, man. I'm not a fan of that at all. Yeah, the stuff on the field, I'm good with. I just wouldn't want them to go crazy with it. Like, let's not get to a point where it becomes a midfield logo, or you've got, the big Waffle House thing in the end zone, and like let's skip that and leave it at this right here. I think it looks good. I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it too. I think it looks pretty solid. Like, it doesn't really have an effect. Like, I think it's going to be one of those things after like 2 weeks, we don't even really notice it. But it's more about what it represents, which is the fat checks those companies are sending to the University of Arkansas, which is what I think everyone should frankly be focusing on. Like, I don't think anybody should make it a bigger deal than it is. Like, hey, you want to be in good partnerships with both of those companies. And I wonder if we still don't know anything on the stadium naming rights, right? So it's like, I wonder, if we still have that battle looming. But that'll be interesting to see once that plays out as well.
Yeah, I just asked the people on Twitter, just like as a poll question, if you would, of do you care about the logos, sponsored logos being on the field? And honestly, I thought that more people would just be like, no, who cares? But there's actually 15% as of right now that say, yes, it's too much. They don't like sponsored logos on the field. So it's like, okay. But those are probably the people that still believe there shouldn't be any video boards. There should just be the good old fashioned score, and there shouldn't be any music. It should just be the band playing. It's like those people, I think, are probably the ones voting on it. So
traditionalists.
Like, that's traditionalists there too. But it's funny because of like having two different sponsors, I thought was unique. Of course, two of them being the biggest companies. But I think Walmart's always had something in Razorback Stadium up there in the corner. But I still think that with the Tyson, man, nobody's having a better year than old Tyson when it comes to what they're doing. Man, he's putting up whatever money he's gotten in from the whole Cal stuff and the marketing.
Yeah.
He's everywhere now.
Stonks.
Yeah. They have him with like even the backdrop for the coaches' press conferences and stuff has Tyson in it now, as well as Farm Bureau. So
Ice Cold Mint Julep wants to know, no JB Hunt. JB Hunt, get your money up, not your funny up. Now, they are still, I think, in the stadium somewhere, right? Like, they have some type of situation going on. I mean, I see JB Hunt in there every now and then. But no, I think this is the big boys here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm like laughing about it too, because I'm like, I don't want, and maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, I don't want any of that money to go into the stadium. Like, put that in the NIL. If you're going to put money in, don't put it on the field.
For sure.
Of course, who knows? Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they did put money in the NIL, and they're like, as a reward, we put your thing in the field there. Maybe
the waters could not be more muddy in terms of where money goes that goes into the university. Like, I don't know, man. It's completely, it's tough.
Yeah, people who are upset by this or think it's bad it's whatever. Like, it's just its way of it. But I do agree with you, Curtis. No uniform stuff, because that's when it gets a little out of hand. Like, no offense to the logo, but imagine having like a Razorback red, and then you just got this big fat yellow Tyson thing right there. It just throws it all off.
Yeah, miss me with that. I don't like that. Leave the jerseys alone.
Yeah. I don't like the NBA. Like, the NBA jerseys, I think they're they have the logo on the corner. Some of them are a little obnoxious, but I'm also like, really, as long as it doesn't become a full page ad on the back of the jerseys, I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah.
In fact, they need to just start putting the nicknames of the players on the back of the jerseys, like the XFL used to do. I would be in favor of that. Let's see, a few people here in the chat when they were talking about it. It's like Strappiest Week says, he's like, JB Hunt is big, but they ain't Walmart Tyson big, I think.
Correct.
I mean, they're not, but still big.
I mean, Walmart's like a Fortune 1 company. You know what I mean? Like, they're like that big. And I think Tyson's in like the top 15, 20 or something like that.
Yeah. Kingsley says those are clearly the people contributing millions of dollars in the NIL.
We know Tyson is.
Yeah, I would hope. But also, Matt, I thought this was interesting. He says, I've suspected with how well we've been doing in recruiting lately that there was an NIL bump. Could this be a sign of that? mean, what is
if you're talking about basketball recruiting, then yeah, there was definitely an NIL bump, and that definitely helped with recruiting. Football, I mean, has there been that big of a bump in recruiting?
No.
They
did pretty good in the portal, but I mean, it wasn't crazy. Like, it's not like they went out and got Quinshon Judkins or something. So,
yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Arkansas football has been recruiting at the same level my entire lifetime. Like I said, in that 22 to 28 range, like they always finished there. So I mean, we'll see. Maybe they jump up to 19 this year or something like that. But I guess I haven't.
And Matt is talking about football. I see in the things there talking about getting the number one guy in Oklahoma and Mississippi. Well, let's see if they keep him. First of all, like how many times does that happen where Arkansas gets a dude early, and you're like, oh man, and they just don't hold on to him. So that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, it's good to get those guys. But if you go and look at like you were saying earlier, Andrew, you go look at the rankings at the end of the day after every cycle, and they're in the same spot. 25.
Well, they always start. To your point, Curtis, like they always, every now and then, like in 2024 class, I remember they started top 10. People were like, they're going to finish 8th in recruiting. And it's like, it doesn't really matter where you start.
Alabama just needs to sign 3 guys and then it'll,
So it's like, I wouldn't put too much stock into recruiting rankings right now. But yeah, I think, it seems like there's a little bit, I think that's more of just the coaching staff they brought in that people like. And again, we'll see where they end up. But if I had to go out on a limb, I'm going to say they're going to finish about 22 to 28 in the national rankings.
Yeah. Well, I know you guys did your bold predictions on out of that nature today. This is just a random bold prediction. I just wanted to do it in the spirit of it. Arkansas is never going to have a top 10 recruiting class in football.
Oh, probably not.
It's never going to happen. Like I know even if they got some big time coach, flooded a lot of NIL, because here's why, for 2 reasons. 1, it's Arkansas. It's not built that way. And 2, high school recruiting is not where you put the NIL money in. Like that's not what you need to put the NIL money in. Transfer portal. Now, could you get the top 10 transfer portal class? Absolutely. I think you already have.
Yeah, they've done that.
So that's what the money needs. Who cares about? Because how many of those kids? Like, I'd love to see. I can't wait to see the percentages after like 5 years of since the transfer portal and all that. How many of those freshman players stayed at their respective schools? Like for that span. I feel like it's never going to happen that way. So, yeah. These are the boomers, and I'm not talking bad because I agree. He's like, don't care what they do at the field as long as they never put the front-facing hog on anything. True.
They phased it out a pretty good amount. Like you can still find it here and there, but you really don't see the front-facing hog too much.
No, thankfully. That was because then you got Addison over here. He's like, I don't care what the advertisements, but the end zone font needs to change.
No, that's true.
Yeah. I need to introduce y'all to my buddy Brendan, because you guys are getting along so great as far as that goes. Y'all would be getting along so great.
Big font guys here.
What's that?
Big font guys here.
Yeah. Well, we're about the aesthetics, and obviously Arkansas can't win unless their aesthetics are really good on the field and everything. But I guess when we pull this up, so is that the wrong font? Is that what they're saying, or they just don't like the font?
I mean, listen, I like Jeff Long. He's a nice fella, but they call that the Jeff Long font. The Arkansas, you see how Arkansas Razorbacks is, like the weird, super razor sharp thing. I'm not into that font at all. Yeah. And I don't think anybody is at this point.
Apparently not.
And the jerseys don't even have that font anymore.
Yeah. You just need to change it up. There's a lot of things, man. There's just so many things was it last year or the year before? Like they repainted the entire field, and then by like week 3, the paint like looked terrible and it was in a bad shape.
Dude, the worst was when they did that weird thing where they left like the outer edge of the end zone. They didn't paint it all the way in, and people kept like being like, they can't do it. It's impossible to do it. Quit complaining about it. I'm like, dude, yes, you can. You can fill in your end zone. Literally everyone does it. That was crazy when they did that.
Yeah. For as nice of a stadium as Razorback Stadium is, for some reason, those are the small things isn't that the story of Arkansas's program? They get the big things right, but it's always the small little things that end up costing them and being the worst part about it. It's just same thing when it comes to their marketing and the grass and everything they put together. So, yeah, because Kingsley says the font was really good for the time, but it's definitely overstayed its welcome. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I mean, and he says for the time, like it was like 15 years ago, and where it was like, yeah, it kind of was like new, and it was like, oh, okay, here's something, and then a lot of bad things happen. You gotta move on.
Got to move on. All right, let's go ahead. Speaking of moving on, to get into our Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. See my boy Clayton over there; he'll get you squared away for all of your insurance needs. And we'll do some basketball updates because I know that. But since we'll stick with the football theme, fellas, the UAB captains have been announced. What do you think? You got Isaac Teslaw, Jaheim Singletary, TJ Metcalf, and of course, Devin Bale.
Cool.
Yep.
Curtis worded it very well in a text to our group yesterday where he was like, you got all this leadership and all these guys you want to do, and it's week 3 and you got the punter up there.
Yeah. I mean, he must really be stepping it up. I don't know. I just don't know how that works. I mean, in some cases, I guess it was like a regional thing. Like, okay, we're in Oklahoma, Luke has, or we're in, Little Rock, Marion Harris, whatever. So I don't know. These guys just stand out in practice. And maybe Sam Pittman talked about it at the Catfish Hole last night. I didn't get to listen to that, but I wish that they would release it. And it's cool. Okay, fine. I've warmed up to the idea of we're just going to do 4 different guys every week. Give us an explanation, like give us a press release. Like, hey, Isaac Teslaw has been catching footballs with one hand. We're going to make him a captain this week. Like something,
Devin Bale did have a hell of a week at Oklahoma State. So you got to give it to him. But yeah, I just feel like, I mean, those 4 guys, congrats to the guys who get, to be the captains and they earn their spot and all that. But it's like, do you think they even really, it feels that cool for them? It's like, all right, yeah, whoever it is in week 8, you think they're going to be like, hell yeah, I'm a captain. I don't think we're going to forget. I can't tell you who the captains were last week. I completely forgot. I remember Luke Has was a captain. I remember they had Jaden Johnson, but it's like this just feels like they've completely taken the steam out of captains. Like it means absolutely nothing at this point.
Yeah. No, the greatest thing would have been is if Ashton Go or whatever would have been named a captain. And it's like it could have been Eli Stein, but he bounced out. So with the long
also, I remember at the time when people said. They were like, oh, the reason he's doing this is to avoid having his captain's transfer or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you're guaranteed, like one of these guys that they've listed as captains are 100% going to transfer. Jaheim Singletary is probably going to transfer in 3 weeks. Like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my thing is like when it comes to like the captains being named and everything, still think it just should have been avoided where just have the players vote. And then the top 4 kids that got the most votes, those are your captains. I mean, just there it is. Who cares about if they transfer or not? You can't control that. That's up to let the team decide. So, yeah. So UAB captains. Woohoo! There it is. There's it going. Now, Curtis, I know you definitely know a lot more about this than me, but saw that I'm going to try to pronounce his name because he's got a lot of double letters in the name connected. Mika Murian. What can you tell us about this young fella?
He's tall.
It's good.
And he's good at basketball.
It's also good.
No, well, both of those things are true. Yeah, I mean, 6'10" forward. He's Finnish. What do you guys think about that?
Ooh, Finnish. Haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah, and he's really, really a stock riser. He's bursting onto the scene. He played really well on the Nike UIBL this summer. He was a Brad Beal Elite. We know that Arkansas's got a lot of dudes who've come from that Brad Beal Elite program. But really, really took off. And I mean, it's super early. Now he's a 2026 guy here. So, long ways to go, I guess. And you can see some of the places that he's visiting, but early on, it's kind of shaping up to where there's potential here for this to be like a Cal versus Mark Pope battle, which would be pretty cool. And one that I think Cal would win, but no, this dude is good. He's a nice player. He's blossoming. He's really a guy who was not on many radars. And then after this summer, he's jumping up like crazy. So good one to have. And it's weird, man. Like these visits are all over the place. Like Malik Thomas, the 5-star in the 2025 class was set to visit this weekend. He's pushed that back. Thought that another 5-star big man, Chris Sinak, might be in this weekend, but that's actually happening in October. So these things are moving around like crazy. But they'll get their guys in at some point.
Yeah, I was looking at him, and anytime that you see a 5-star player get announced and going on a visit and everything, it goes back to I think we talked about a few weeks ago. You like Razorback fans, you just almost have this confidence, like, oh yeah, we got him, he's coming. It's like if Cal wants him, he's here. He'll be here. So I if they're sticking with the whole 3 players each recruiting class, maybe he's one of the other 5 stars that they get as part of that recruiting class. But man, it's just nice to always see that, and feels like it's always Arkansas and Michigan too that are in the mix for the same type of players. But
yeah, that is interesting. And the thing that people like about this dude, now if you're really trying to find the the next Oscar Shibwe or whatever, the next Zach Edey or something, you're not gonna find that. Like he's a European big, this dude is, but his splits in the EYBL were crazy. Like he shot 61% from the field, 50% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. That's
Jeez.
good. That's good for anyone. And he's also like a 6'10" dude. So you love to
like
see
the
it.
international flavor that they're starting to they're recruiting the freaking globe, man. I mean, I know they were talking to some other international guys a few months ago, but man, it's where's Big Z from again?
Croatia.
Yes, I mean they're starting to cover some ground here in recruiting, man. I like it.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So because that's, I think the interesting thing too is with the high school recruiting and then transfer portal, because that's no one knows what the transfer portal is going to look like right now. So it's like, but even then, I feel like if there's a kid that they get into the portal, a number 1 player gets into the portal, I think Arkansas has just as good of a chance of getting him again too. And I'm not trying to say that there's any tampering going on at all. I would never accuse anybody of that, but could be one of those things where maybe Cal and Arkansas makes an announcement to the college basketball landscape. We are looking for a really big time position player who would like to get out of the portal and would be eligible for a lot of NIL money. And then maybe something like that, where you're not tampering, but you just let everybody know that you're looking for somebody. So, but I'm assuming they're always going to, just as long as Cal's there, they're going to have big time players, no matter what, doing it that way. So, also on the basketball side, and Curtis, I tried to put this in because I know we were going to talk about it as far as a graphic goes so people can see, but there's kind of a dual thing to this. What Andy Katz named his top wings. And we'll start with this type of thing. He's got John L. Davis as the number 7 wing. In the country.
I mean, that's cool, to be top 10 at a position that you don't play, but I don't know. And it's listen, there's no like set definition for these things. So like based on whatever philosophy someone subscribes to, you can talk yourself into anything. Like I held on to the, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center thing as long as I could, but then it became like guards, wings, and forwards or what, so I get it. It changes. But to me, like John L. Davis in every sense of the word, no matter how you slice it, he's a guard and not necessarily a wing. I think he's got the ball in his hands too much to be considered a wing. And I get it. Like, sure, people were trying to argue with me about it last night. Like, well, but John Rothstein said that, Boogie Flan, DJ Wagner, and John L. Davis are going to all start. So John L. Davis is a wing. No, he's not. That just means Arkansas is playing a 3-guard lineup. That's like saying Mason Jones was a center because he played some 5 when Eric Musselman didn't have any big men. You know what I mean? Like that's just it's whatever. Like people can argue it however they want, but he's never going to be a guy that I classify as a wing. And I don't know how you put a guy like Nelly Davis in the same category as Cooper Flagg or Liam McNeely or Alex Carabin. It's just completely different types of players. It's crazy.
Yeah, my initial thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that has to just be like an assuming, okay, I guess DJ Wagner and Boogie Flander, that was immediately where my brain went. But I agree with you 100% where I'm like, I feel like he's a combo guard. Like you could make a better argument for him being a point guard on this Arkansas team more so than you could him being like a legit 3 like wing player. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I also thought it was interesting him being 7 because like if we're saying he's a wing, then he probably needs to be a little bit higher up on the list, huh?
Probably so.
Yeah.
I just noticed that Jackson Robinson was not on the list, and you know who else noticed that Jackson Robinson wasn't on the list? Jackson Robinson.
Yeah.
He sent out
now
this
that's
tweet.
A wing. I will say, at least Jackson Robinson is a wing.
I'll give him that. Yes, Jackson. That when I look at Jackson Robinson, when I think about a wing, yes, I think that makes sense with the position. But like, I don't know. Are you mad that you weren't on the list? Like because
Keeping receipts, man.
Like
Keeping
I
receipts,
don't
man.
know, like a 6'7" dude who's been an average 3-point shooter, who didn't make it in 2 stops at the SEC, and like I mean, he had a good year at BYU, but I mean, I don't know,
Dude.
you feel disrespected by that? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's a little strange to me.
I'm gonna put it out there whenever the the broadcasters of the year award gets put out across the country, and then if I'm not in the top 10, I'm gonna be like, keeping receipts, because that's like I have no chance of winning that, and I'm not, and so like, but I'm just gonna say that, just keeping receipts. I guess he was mad about it.
That's a good bit. Just quote tweeting anything that doesn't include you, and just be like, keeping receipts.
Keeping receipts.
You know, it's funny. People fall for that a lot, to where like then they're like, you know what, I do need to give this guy his praise. So then you'll end up on one of those lists,
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so John Calipari in his last press conference, he was asked about his roster. Like, you put this thing together, what do you think? And he's like, well, I got 3 guards, 3 wings, 3 bigs. Do you think John L. Davis was one of the wings he was talking about? I don't.
Yeah.
You know, a Dude Thiero is a wing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, like, Andy Katz is a really smart guy. I mean, covering basketball a long time. I just didn't really understand the
Also, the chat's reporting that Jackson was on the list. So what's he upset about? He's upset that he was number 10?
I guess so.
On the top 10?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so, because that's what people were saying, that because he showed his top 16 is what he did. And I guess he just wasn't I guess he wasn't high enough for him. That was the problem.
I wouldn't have had him on there at all.
Yeah. Sorry, son. You're only one of the 10 best players in the country at your archetype.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, Sweet 16 is not good enough for Jackson Robinson. He's got to get in that Elite 8 level for that happens. Speaking of basketball, though, a little cool spot here too. Got of course John Calipari. I think a lot of people like to come visit him for whatever reason. But you had Seth on hoops, which it's Seth Davis, right? Not Seth Greenberg, right?
Yeah, that's Seth
you're
Greenberg.
right.
Okay, I always get him mixed
Is it
up.
not Seth Greenberg?
No, I'm saying, is that not Seth Davis that he tagged?
Oh, I don't know who he tagged. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
that is funny though, if they did tag the other one.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's like you gotta. Yeah, so no, that's Seth Greenberg is the one that I just tagged. So
okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he got it right.
Yeah, come on. I mean, Cal's not going to get something like that wrong. Let's be honest about it.
Well, Cal didn't do that.
Cal ain't tweeting that.
Yeah. Okay. True. Good point. But no, it was cool. Like seeing that. Like, who cares? But Kamani, all right. Hey, Kamani, good to see you back again, hanging out.
Cool for Dakari's brother to stop by.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, like it seems like he's one of the players that, and I know it's not because he's in the NBA, but it's like he's one of the players that feels like comes around a lot more of the Muss era and comes and hangs out. So.
Well, Kamani certainly enjoyed his time at the University of Arkansas.
Sure
Maybe
did.
too much, one could argue. In fact, I will argue he enjoyed it a little too much, but he definitely enjoyed his time at the University of Arkansas. And frankly, I enjoyed his time at the University of Arkansas. He was a fun presence. And, sometimes you need a guy to tip in a ball against San Diego State to send you to OT.
There we go.
Or to do whatever he did to get the, the rebound off the missed free throw by who was it that missed it? Ricky Council. Get the offensive rebound off of that and kick it back out for even more free throws. Yeah, sometimes you just needed that guy over there. But yeah, it's good to see him back though, and him always being involved in some capacity. What was his first year at Arkansas? Or not? Not that he played, because I know think he sat out. What was his first year? Was it Muss's first year?
His Muss's second year.
Second year. Okay.
Yeah. Did he come like mid-year?
Yeah. Well, sort of. Yeah, like he committed. It was weird. He committed in like August or September. He enrolled in December, and he practiced with the team in that spring semester when they went to the bubble in the Elite Eight, and then he played after that.
Okay. Yeah, because I get for some reason him, and not for any other reason, just him and Connor Vanover mixed up as far as their tenure.
That's wild behavior.
That is wild behavior.
No, it's like they both transferred from somewhere. They both had to sit out a year. Like I didn't remember which years they were there. But yeah, that's about it. That's where it ends as far as me getting mixed up is this their time there. So
you know why they brought him in, right? Curtis, you know exactly why they brought him in. FTA guy.
Big FTA guy.
Big FTA guy.
He was definitely that. And he put up numbers that at Little Rock. Yeah.
Yeah,
Little Rock before. Yeah. Pretty good year. He was fun, man.
Unbiased Brim says, Curtis, your basketball mind is showing its brilliance. Just a little compliment for you.
Oh boy. Thank you. I needed that. The thing about Kamani, dang it, I lost my train of thought. I had something cool to say about him. I don't remember.
That's my bad. I interrupted you with a compliment. I'm sorry.
It's whatever.
Yeah. All right. So everybody in the chat, stop. We're like, man, people freaking out. Yes, Mama Armstrong, we always appreciate you watching and listening, being a part of the show. She says, our team is completely different than last year. You can see it. Let's go, Hogs. We not losing no more game. I love the confidence, and I love the fact that you watch us every day, Mama Armstrong. Your son's a really good football player, if anybody hadn't noticed.
You'll want to know this week.
They'll be one day. Arkansas certainly ain't losing Saturday. I know that for sure. Also, I picked Andrew Armstrong to score the first touchdown. I don't think Arkansas is going to throw a ton this weekend. They shouldn't have to, but I think you got to get the guy involved. And currently on pace to have a pretty crazy year. Got to pad those stats a little bit. Yep. Every pass should go to Andrew Armstrong just so he stays in that top 10 of the SEC receiving yards.
Agreed.
Well, what did we say yesterday? It's like he's, I think, 6th or 7th in the SEC and receiving yards. He's only played one game when everyone else has played 2. So yeah, he's on pace. Which, by the way, we'll talk about that with our prop plays. Just looking ahead to those for Saturday, and Andrew Armstrong will be mentioned in one of those, as well as a little fun announcement dealing with that too. But wanted to give Mama Armstrong, which again we always love the parents, but the players' parents who come and watch us with all of our nonsense. Also puts me on edge a little bit too, because I'm like, I got to remember sometimes.
Well, thank God it's literally like the most well-rounded player on the team that never makes mistakes. Like if there were any other player, it'd be like, oh man, we might have to kind of like Landon Jackson. We've kind of been a little hard on Landon Jackson here these last couple of weeks. But shout out to Andrew. We never have to talk bad about Andrew, so it's like it's all good.
Yeah, and he's been great, and when he's out on the field, he makes a difference too. So yeah, but shout out to Mama Armstrong there too. We got trolls in here saying that Arkansas is going to lose this weekend. Okay, that's fine.
Relax.
Yeah, fine. That's fine.
They ain't losing this week.
Yeah, everybody's just, it's always that one guy just comes in and is just like Arkansas is going to lose, and then the chat becomes absolute cesspool of nonsense.
Here's the deal: if Arkansas does lose somehow this weekend, all of you that are in this chat right now, you don't get to just go away. We've got to show up every day. So do you. You got to keep watching. Y'all
got to help. Yeah, for real, because it's going to get bleak real quick, man.
Yep.
At least come and voice your complaints here.
Yeah, and we're going to keep receipts or whatever the kids say.
And if Arkansas loses to UAB on the simulation that we're doing tonight,
yes.
Sorry, we're not AI. We don't control this.
If they lose on that simulation tonight,
that'd be a tough look, man.
If they fall behind by like 2 touchdowns, John, you got to hop on the sticks.
Yeah, I'll save the day. I'll jump in and be like, oh, don't worry, guys, I got this 4 verts all the time, and I'll take care of business because I'm a really good football player in that video game. Actually, I'm not. I'm pretty terrible. So, but yeah, it's gonna be fun though tonight, folks. We'll do it again, 8 p.m. live stream for EA Sports College Football video game, and so far it's been pretty. It's undefeated as far as relaying the result of the game. So pretty accurate, 100% accuracy so far. Because Michael Kopetsky says, of course, Michael's always crazy in there. He says, "Is there a way you guys can speed up the simulation?" What do you mean? You can speed it up. Like, I'm sorry, are we taking too much time for entering the simulation?
It was like 45 minutes last time.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, sorry.
In fact, you can make an argument. It was too fast, frankly, because it was pretty low scoring. What was it, like 2017?
That's what I was going to say. Like, you got to give it time to play out the way it might actually happen. Like, we don't want this to end. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, 14-7. Arkansas win.
So, but see, that's the thing is like, what they say, Arkansas didn't lose the game. They just ran out of time.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They just ran out of time. So there's another one that I was going to bring up. Oh, from the higher ed guy. So one of y'all highlighted this, but add Trent Dilfer to the head coach candidate if we lose.
Yeah. Why not?
Like,
you can watch future Razorback head coach GJ Kinney tonight, right?
You can. That's going to be a fun game. By the way, Arizona State's been they've been really impressive. They look like one of the more improved teams in the country. GJ Kinney, I love that guy. Texas State beat the absolute dog piss out of Jeff Traylor and UTSA last week, 49-10.
I think this is like a pick'em too.
It is a pick'em, and I'm torn on it, man. I think they got it right because I really don't know who I expect to win that game. It's at Texas State, right?
Yeah, which is crazy. It's really cool.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a fun game.
Yeah, we'll talk about the betting lines not only for Arkansas but also for the games tonight too, on all that. Josh says, "You guys realize how crazy our stats are though nationally? They are pretty good, right? I heard we were like first and third nationally in third down conversions, for example.
So far, so good. They were 11 of 19 on third down conversions last week, and it was crazy.
And there were a lot of long ones,
like
a lot of
17, no big deal. Yeah, it was nuts.
No, yeah, I mean we're very aware that Arkansas is statistically going crazy. It is also worth noting, like the UAPB game is 50% of the resume here, and so like it's going to kind of average out a little bit. But I am buying that Arkansas is going to be up there nationally. Like even after a few weeks, I think we'll look back and they'll still be top 15, 20, 25 in yards and all that stuff. But in 2022, they were top 15 in everything yardage wise. But it didn't necessarily equate to points. So they scored 70 against UAPB. Cool, but got to get those yards into points a little more often.
And I will say on third down conversion rate, I think if I saw the stat correctly, Arkansas was dead last in the SEC last year in third down conversions. So
I believe it. I don't think they converted any.
Yeah, but I just hope it doesn't turn into one of those funny things where it's like Arkansas struggles on third and short, but then on third and 7 or third and long, they get it. So everyone's like, you got to lose some yardage here on second down if you're going to convert, because they can't get the short yardage. But yes, the stats are really good right now. 650 offensive yards in a game helps out with that. So be looking out for that. All right, let's go ahead to look at some of these prop plays over on Bet Saracen and BetSaracen.com, because I know those are the fun ones we look at, which won't go through all of them, maybe just some of the ones that are really standing out and everything. But before we do, we'll have a formal announcement too on our social media. But we are really excited that we have here at Inside Arkansas officially partnered with Bet Saracen and the Saracen Casino Resort down in Pine Bluff. We are always big Saracen guys as it is to using it for our sports betting here in the state of Arkansas, but we have now made it official. So each and every day we're going to be talking a little Saracen lines and giving our picks for every weekend too, and it's all going to be through the Bet Saracen app. So we really appreciate them and can't wait to continue the partnership with them as well. It's going to be awesome. So
absolutely. Well, hopefully this is a way for me to make up some of the money that I've given them over the last couple of years. So
lost a lot more than we've made, or at least I have. So,
I've been on kind of a heater though lately, I got to admit.
Yeah, I'm about to absolutely rack up this weekend. I mean, we'll talk about that on a different time, but I'm excited for just our partnership with Bet Saracen. I feel like the ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan said that one time. There's not, I mean, I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, because we're always going to be betting. And so, I mean, and it's not, we're not like just those people that just read you odds and read you numbers. Like we are gambling on all this stuff as well and losing and winning money with you. So it's nice that we'll get to take you on this beautiful journey with us.
What, before we get into that too, like I think the only one I got was my Jaquindon Jackson prop, but did you guys hit on anything for Arkansas as far as prop plays last week?
No, because they didn't throw it to Luke Has, or well, I guess the ones that we put out there as our best bets. But no, I was in on that Jaquindon one.
Talon, I had the Talon one, which cashed in like the first half. It was like 264 passing and 55 rushing or something like that. And yeah, there was the request of bets that they did, where it was like they literally were like having people tweet at them, and then they would make the props on of it. So one of those Luke Has ones I did hit, but I missed the one where he had to have 4 or 5 receptions.
Well, this one might be interesting because if UAB, if we think the game's going to go the way that we believe it's going to go, there may be some of these that we really look at. But we'll start with the few that have, I guess, you say the lowest odds? Is that how you say it? Just want to make sure I get my lingo right if we're talking betting. But it doesn't matter. Plus 135. You got 2 of them here for the prop plays. Start with that. Rodney Hill is actually first up, as we all anticipated. Rodney Hill, total yards rushing over 27.5 and over 4.5 carries.
Yeah.
I think he gets that simply because like they're not going to run Jaquindon 30 times. I don't know how many times he'll even if he just gets 6 carries, like he'll probably get the yardage. I think the odds being plus 135 is that what you said? Like that's about right. It should be about even odds.
Yeah, I'd go with that one. The other one, and also plus 135, is Tyrone Broden, over 4.5 total receptions and over 49.5 total receiving yards.
Okay, well,
It's a lot.
Maybe not. When we were doing our bold predictions earlier on Pot of That Nature, make sure you check that out. That was a fun episode me and Andrew did. One of my bold predictions, we were talking about like who would be the leading receiver. And I had Andrew Armstrong in receptions, but Broden in yardage. So
okay.
I'll say nod. 5 receptions? Nah.
Yeah.
I don't like the 5 receptions either, especially because, I mean, like I said, I think Arkansas in the second half is not going to be throwing the ball a ton.
Right.
I think he could have 3 receptions for 90 yards or something like that, but I don't know if he's going to get 5 receptions.
This could be a game where there's only like, I don't know, like 18 passes completed, if even that many, honestly. Like
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also could see like Malachi Singleton coming in if it gets to that point and they still want to work on his game and get him some reps and throwing the ball. So yeah, it's going to be situational. Now, the next one at plus 150, shout out to Mama Armstrong, because this has to do with Andrew Armstrong. Over 6.5 total receptions and over 74.5 total receiving yards at plus 150.
This one's more likely to me just because they'll throw to Andrew Armstrong a lot anytime it's third down. But even still, I don't like Curtis said, I think there's not going to be a ton of completions to go around, especially in the second half. So I don't like the receptions. Well, you said the yardage is 74.5.
Yeah.
What was the receptions again?
6.5.
7.
Dude, that's a lot of receptions.
It is.
If they were playing Georgia, I could see him getting 7 receptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd rather a tougher opponent here because they would throw to him. But yeah, right. I don't think he's gonna catch 7 passes. Unless if Andrew Armstrong catches 7 passes, that means they're in a dogfight where they were needing him to convert a lot of 3rd and 7s, which so it's like it would almost be a bad sign if they threw to him that much.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm probably not just touching it. Just and has nothing to do with Armstrong. It just has to do with the game and the team they're playing. Like that's just a lot for me to go with. Now this one I like a little bit more. This is also at plus 150. Braylon Russell, assuming that they want him to play and he actually plays. Braylon Russell over 24.5 yards rushing and over a half rushing touchdown.
Easy.
I think that's an easy one for me.
Easy. Now the touchdown's the hard one. I mean, now he had one in week 1, didn't play at all last week. If this game goes again, we're kind of forecasting this game as a blowout. Braylon Russell's got to get the yardage. I mean, because he'll probably get 6-7 carries. You'd imagine. Get in the end zone. I love this one. Plus 150. I like that.
I don't love it at all.
Ooh.
Really? You don't think he's going to play, huh?
If you want him to play and he doesn't, then I don't know why this would be any different. Well, no, but in all seriousness, I mean, I hope so. But I think it is dependent on a few different things. I mean, I'm sure Rodney Hill will get his share of carries. I don't know what they're going to do with the Tyrell Reed kid, but like how healthy is DeBinion? Because if they actually think DeBinion's going to be a guy who could really factor in at the top part of that running back rotation, if he's been practicing in full this week, and I don't know if he has, it might be a situation where they're really handing him the rock a bunch. Now, it's not a ton of yardage and one touchdown for your big power back. I think it's pretty reasonable, but I wouldn't say I love it personally.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we can agree on this. If he doesn't get this, like if he doesn't get run this week, then he's just not going to get a ton of run. Like he's probably a redshirt candidate at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't think should be the case. Like I think they should be playing him. I think he can help them. So I'm just this is a little bit wishful, but I do honestly really think he's going to play a little bit.
Now this one I actually really like too. Because again, we're not going to go over all of them, but Isaac Tesla at plus 190, by the way. Isaac Tesla over 2.5 total receptions, over 29.5 total receiving yards. I actually like that one because I feel like Tesla, just to be honest, I think Tesla comes in with the 2s. Like say if they're blowing him out or whatever, I still think he's getting run with the 2s just like he would kind of with the 1s. That's the reason I like it. But
3 catches though?
Yeah.
3 catches.
3 catches, 30 yards. He did that against UAPB. So...
If I mean, well, here's the deal. If they target him that many times, he'll get it because that dude catches everything. So
I've heard that before.
I actually, this is my favorite of the receiver props. One, because I think 3 is a lot more doable than 7 for Andrew Armstrong. And what was it? 5 for Broden. The yardage. And I mean, if he catches 3 passes, I would assume he's going to get the yardage. And I like your point, John, about how he's not going to be a guy that you only play in the first half.
Yeah.
He might actually be in there with Malachi Singleton or whoever. I like it. What's the odds again?
Plus 190.
Okay, I like it then. At that odds, I really do. I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, that's what I go with that. Now, this one's a team defense deal. Arkansas defense passing yardage allowed over 224 and a half yards, passing yards, and rushing yardage allowed over 99 and a half yards. That's plus 200. So saying that Arkansas essentially is going to give up about 325 offensive yards, where 100 of it's rushing and the rest of it's passing. That's a lot of passing yards, I feel like, in this particular game. But then they're banged up in the secondary. So
I don't know. I mean, there's something about this game where I just feel like at some point things are going to start regressing to the mean a little bit.
Yeah.
In big picture, that's not a lot of yards to give up there. I just don't know that UAB is going to be the team that does that. I think they're going to have more success than people expect. And the other part about that, I wonder if they're down by 3-4 touchdowns or whatever, and Arkansas is getting their guys in late, like you could get a big chunk of that on one possession at the end of the fourth quarter against the threes. So it's not crazy. I probably wouldn't bet on it, but I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to bet on it, but I will say, like, in modern college football, 225 yards of passing is really not that crazy, especially in a game that you're going to likely be behind and you're going to have to be throwing a good bit. Like, they might throw 35, 40 passes. Frankly, I could see them getting the passing and not the rushing. Again, because I don't think 225 is like a crazy number. And because if you fall behind, are you really going to run the ball for 100 yards?
Right.
I mean, I know that Arkansas, I don't know how much they ended up giving up last. Did they give up 100 yards to Oklahoma State?
No, 59.
I don't think they did. So it's like, I actually think the passing is the doable one here. Whereas, like, I think they would have to rip off a big one to get the 100. That would be something if they threw for like 315 and then ran for like 75 yards.
Yeah. Well, this one is also the Jaquindon Jackson one, because again, I was big on this last week, and this one I'm struggling with, guys. I'll be honest, but it's at plus 210. Jaquindon Jackson total yards rushing over 99 and a half, which he's gotten 100 yards each game. But over also 14 and a half total carries in this one. Now, for reference, he carried the ball only 8 times against UAPB, for what it's worth. So I don't know. I don't like the carries. That's a lot of carries.
I would hope he doesn't get that many carries in this game, but at the same time, well, actually, by the time they have it well under control, he doesn't even need to be in the game. So yeah, when they're just running it out, so I don't know. I don't like it.
I like the yardage though. I think he'll get 100 yards, but I don't know. I don't like the 14 and a half carries. That's a lot.
What's crazy is, like, I don't love it necessarily. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to get that. One, if he gets the carries, he's getting the yards. I think we agree on that. Like, if he runs the ball 15 times, he's going to probably have 100. You said he had 8 carries against UAPB and 24, 25 against them. It's going to probably be somewhere right in that mid range there. What's a crazy first half rushing attempt total for Jaquindon? Like, we're thinking he's going to get about 10 in the first half.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I hope not. I think that they should just try to keep him as healthy as possible and not have him cramp again.
I do too, but I do think in the first half, it's like he's going to run out there with the ones. Like, they're at least going to wait until it gets pretty crazy. But I actually, at the odds being 2-1 or better, I don't hate sprinkling a little something here, simply because, like, they're not going to just like they're not going to treat this like it's a scrub game. And to be fair, this isn't UAPB. Like, they're not playing a program that's super, super lesser, although they should beat up on them pretty good. If Curtis and I were talking about the possibility of this being like a 28-3, 28-6 game, similar to the Kent State one last year, where they like kind of dominate or whatever. If that's the case, he's probably hitting it. Where he probably does run the ball 16, 17 times. I agree with you guys, though. I hope he doesn't, simply because it's like, I want to see those other backs get the ball more, but I don't think it's that crazy. And so, given the odds, I don't think it's the worst sprinkle in the world. Where, like, if he runs the ball 18 times, we're gonna feel stupid because he'll have like 130, 140 yards and we'll be like, oh, that was the easiest bet of all time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just don't see. I feel like he's going to have a good yards per carry. I don't know. I'm probably not going to touch it this week, which I'm sure I'll regret completely.
Well, if Jaquin Jackson
boy,
has
man.
to get 15 carries, and Andrew Armstrong has to get 7 receptions, and Isaac Tesla has to get 3, and Taylon Green has to get 700 yards of offense or whatever his prop is, like
Yeah.
pick and choose wisely, like pick one and roll with it,
Yeah.
But
Well, that's where if I were to pick any of the ones between like Armstrong, Broden, or this one, I actually like this one more than I like the other ones. Especially because it's juiced up odds a little bit, where it's like, and running the ball, it's like, if Arkansas's up 28-0 at halftime, I could still see Jaquin getting 3 or 4 carries in the second half.
Right. Well, and maybe it's worth a little sprinkle then. Well, speaking of the Taylon Green, also at plus 210, here's his prop. Total yards passing over 265.5 yards, and total yards rushing over 75.5.
He's a first round pick. That's easy.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
easy.
True.
I mean, for a first rounder, yeah, those are Justin Fields numbers.
He could legit. I feel like I'm really just shortchanging UAB. They're not good, but I mean, it's reasonable to say he could get that in the first half. I don't think he will, but I don't.
Let's see. I was trying to.
I don't think that's crazy.
It's not crazy. I just don't think he's going to throw the ball enough to throw for 265, 270. And again, we're talking about.
He might have to complete like a dozen passes to get that.
Yeah, he might go 13 for 15 for 290 or something like that. You're not wrong. I mean, there was a game back in 2021. Arkansas played Georgia Southern.
Yes,
and they won like 56-3. But KJ threw for 370 because they had a bunch of massive, huge touchdown plays. So it's like something like that is definitely in play. I just don't know if both things happen. Like if Taylon has another 300-yard passing game, which again isn't out of the question, then I think he's probably not running the ball for 80 yards, And if he runs the ball for 80, 90 yards, I don't think he's throwing that. It's like I don't know if both happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I want him running that many yards because it's just it's a lot.
He could get that on the first snap.
Yeah.
You're right. I talked about this with Curtis today where I was like, I actually think he's going to run for 100 yards, not because he's going to run a ton. I think he's going to rip off a big run, like a 60, 65-yard touchdown run that kind of creates highlights and gets him drafted in the first round.
That's what makes these things so frustrating because you can talk yourself into anything because that's the way they set these lines. Like sometimes you might see, all these stats that they have to put up and you're like, I don't know, that's kind of crazy. But then you look at the odds. Well, there's a reason it set it where it's at. So like, plus 250.
What is it? Plus 220 on Taylon?
Yeah. Or plus 210.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a horrible little sprinkle there. If I like Jaquin Jackson to do his where it's like,
right.
If you think UAB's good, like sneaky going to make this a game, those are probably decent investments. Because if those guys play 3 quarters, both of those numbers are very much in play.
Oh yeah,
and I do think they're going to play 3 quarters. I don't think Arkansas is going to do a halftime mass sub here.
Agreed.
Yeah. This is just especially when they're trying to work on themselves. As we got in the press conference, a few of these more since he's a captain. I mean, we got talking about Devin Bale has a prop. I'm not touching this one just to be honest, but total punts over 4.5, and then over 57.5 being the longest punt. I ain't touching that.
That's what's the odds on that, John?
That one is plus 220.
Dude, that shit, low key, like a 58-yard punt by itself. Like even if you just gave me that bet at plus 200, I probably would be like hesitant just to have a 58-yard punt. And he's only punted 3 times all year. That boy ain't about to punt 5 times against UAB.
Better not. Like something went awry if that's how many punts he's got. So yeah, I'm not. I saw that one. I was like, I've got to bring that one up because I'm not touching that. How about some turnovers for Arkansas defense? This is at plus 230. Arkansas defensive total interceptions over 1.5 and over a half total fumble recovery.
The randomness of the fumble thing it's always a thing that I have a hard time getting on board with. Like if it was just turnovers in general. Being, over 3 or whatever that over 2.5. I mean, I predicted them to have 3. So I would probably take that. I don't know. I might mess with it. I just forcing a fumble, recovering a fumble. There's a lot of randomness to that. Like an interception is a skilled maneuver.
Yeah.
Like it can be a tip ball or whatever, but like you can make a play on it, but actually forcing a fumble and recovering it, there's so much randomness involved. I hate that.
Yeah.
Here's my case though, because fumbles are random 100%. Arkansas has not recovered a fumble yet this year. Law of averages. There's a ball getting on the floor here soon.
Yeah, it'll come from Jaquindon Jackson's hands.
Well,
it's
you're
true.
talking about someone who's used up. If it's a law of averages on fumble, he's used up his fumbles for a few weeks.
I hope so.
But I do think I agree with you, Curtis, where it's like I'd feel better if it was just 3 turnovers. I actually don't hate this one at all. Because I do think like Arkansas is due to kind of force some havoc. That's been a big narrative, big talking point.
UAB lost a couple fumbles last week.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know. Arkansas was definitely due to put the ball on the ground, but I think Arkansas's defense, that's got to be a point of emphasis of like forcing something here. Like forcing an interception, maybe poking a ball loose, and so I think 3 turnovers is doable, even in that distribution there. And with the odds, I actually don't hate that.
Yeah, it feels like the interceptions and turnovers and stuff in Arkansas's favor. I think someone in the chat said that they're Arkansas's 105th in turnover margin, which I believe. Yeah, you got to get something going, and this might be the game for it. All right, just a few more here. These are getting, of course, to the higher odds, but plus 350. Arkansas offensive yards passing over 349.5 and over 199.5 rushing yards plus 350.
Nope.
I don't like that. They should not have to throw for 350 yards, but they did throw for 408 against UAPB. But I think that was more of just a week 1 trying to get your reps in. I don't think. I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative.
Yeah. Well, how about this one then? Arkansas, same odds, plus 350. Arkansas team total offense over 549.5 yards, and opponent total offense under 324.5 offensive yards.
I like that actually.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
And even that one, I'm not like crazy about because I think they're going to run the ball a lot, and running the ball probably hurts your total offense. But I actually that at plus 350, that seems extremely doable. I mean, they average over 600 yards. It's not like they're playing some 85 Bears defense here. I think Arkansas could put up 600 yards of offense pretty easily if they wanted to.
Here's the thing though. It's like don't bet out of both sides of your mouths if we're giving advice here. So if you're going to take Arkansas to force more than 3 turnovers, understand what that means. Like you're probably going to have some short fields to work with, which means less yardage to score. And so I would pick one or the other, but I wouldn't pick both personally. If you force 3 turnovers, and you gain that much offense, then I mean you're probably winning this game like 63-3 or something. So
yeah. I think I would go, honestly, I'd go with the total offense number and opponents held under than I would the turnover one personally, just because I think that
what was the under for them?
324.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd probably do that. All right. So these are the longer shots, the final 2.
All right.
This one's at plus 400 and a player we've talked about. Landon Jackson. Total tackles over 6.5.
Nope.
Then you have to hear the rest. And over 1.5 total sacks.
Nope.
I agree. I don't think it's
got 2 tackles on the season. I get it. Like at some point he's going to break out. That's a lot of tackles for a defensive end. I could get on board with the sacks though, or tackles for loss, whatever it was there.
Yeah, I can do that. Sacks. Someone's got to slip Randy a memo and just be like, "Hey man, defensive line tackles are just not the thing."
Yes.
To set a big bar on, you know what I mean? Because like you said, even if Landon Jackson had a 3-sack game, I don't think he would have 7 tackles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think he'd probably have 4 tackles, 3 of which were for loss or something like that. The defensive line tackles are tough.
I do think he gets on the board with the sacks.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, but I'm not touching this one. All right. And this is what's that?
Strip sack, huh?
Maybe that's the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone. This one's the biggest or the longest odds, however you say it. Luke has total receiving yards over 24.5 and over 1.5 receiving touchdowns plus 550.
2 tutties.
I'll tell you this. I'm not putting a lot on it, but I'm putting something on it.
That'll get a sprinkle out of me for sure. That'll definitely get a sprinkle out of me.
Look, I've lost on betting on them throwing the damn football to Luke has 2 weeks in a row. I'm not doing it again. They don't throw it to him.
They don't.
He's too good.
But
It's too good.
He does have 100% of Arkansas's receiving touchdowns over the last 8 days.
It's true. Right? Yeah, it's true.
Well,
So,
actually, no, not 8 days because, well, yeah,
yeah, it's 8 days. Yeah.
Well, I was like, they played
that
on
still works.
Thursday, and that was more than 8 days ago.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, yeah, I'll put a little bit on that one, but probably not too much.
Tough.
Yeah. It's also
Especially 'cause
tough.
it's like,
It's funny how much like more confident I am when they go up against a really good team of like knowing what they're going to get, because there's just so many variables that could go into this. So
just knowing that he would play the full game, would be nice. But yeah, 2 touchdowns and stuff. But plus 550, it's like,
yeah,
you got to understand what you're doing here. Like, we're not advocating like, hey, empty the clip on this plus 550 stupid prop.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and non-Razorback stuff since this Thursday. What do y'all think for tonight's game between the Bills and Dolphins? Games in Miami. Miami's favored by 2.5. Feeling that?
I actually like Miami in this one.
I like Miami too.
I do too.
Hell with the Bills.
The Bills looked really like they had
Buffalo.
a nice little comeback win. Yeah, you hate Buffalo, right? The Bills had a nice little like comeback win against the Cardinals, which, by the way, the spread was 6.5, and they won by 6. So credit to Vegas there. But Miami like had to had to come back from behind, but it didn't look as impressive. It was more about the Jaguars sucking last week. But I think it kind of flips. Like, I think Miami is going to play pretty well in this one. They're at home, so like a short notice or short turnaround, you kind of favor the home team there. I think Mike McDaniel's a really good coach. The Bills have a lot of question marks at receiver. I think they're going to show up this week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like either of them because I'm a lowly Jets fan and they're in the division, but I think the Dolphins are better. At least they should be. So
if Hill's Hideaway here in Fayetteville wouldn't have tanked, I'd be there tonight watching the game, cheering on the Bills.
Dude, I never got to go there. That's what's really a bummer.
No,
I never got to experience it. It's like 2 places that I moved to. In Little Rock, it was Cajun's Wharf, and in this place, it's Hill's Hideaway. Just
you remember when we were in Buffalo drinking the Blue Light beers?
Yeah,
they had those.
Oh, really?
They had those at Hill's Hideaway. Yeah,
their wings were so good too. Like, we will the streets will never forget the Hill's Hideaway era. It's really unfortunate.
True,
I went and watched a Bills playoff game there, a game that they ended up losing to Cincinnati, but they would play shout like a lot because they play shout at Bills games a lot, but they would play it like every first down damn near.
Was that when we were at the Anchor Bar or was that the Bar Bill?
Yes. I think Bar Bill is where we started. Yeah.
Yeah. Bar Bill was the best wings of the trip. Just to
and I'm not lying to you. The ones at the Hills Hideaway like rival those. They had it right, man. Really,
those
really
pork
good.
shanks. Oh,
yeah.
Those pork shanks were so good.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace. Never got to experience it. Sad.
I will say this though on the Bills game, just last thing, just to cover my tracks in case anyone wants to dunk on me tomorrow when the Dolphins lose. I think Josh Allen, if they win this game, he becomes the MVP favorite. Because they traded away his top weapon at receiver. Like, he's pretty much carrying that offense by himself. So I think it kind of does set up, like, if they end up winning that division and being, one of the top teams in the AFC, I think Josh Allen might be the MVP this year. I don't know what his odds are, but I would imagine you can get pretty good value there.
Well, and going on the college football side of things, the big game tonight in college football is the Arizona State Sun Devils traveling to the Texas State Bobcats. And the Bobcats are actually favored by 1.5 in this one. So
sign me up.
Yeah. I'm going with Arizona State in that just for funsies.
Well, I guess they both played. It's a really short turnaround for both of those teams. Who did Texas State? They had UTSA and they blew them out, right? Last week.
Yeah. And then I want to say they played a scrub week 1.
Yeah. Arizona State won a one possession game against Mississippi State, but that's misleading. So I don't know that
they beat them up.
Yeah. I like Texas State here. Why? This is at Texas State, right?
Yep. It's in the St. Marcos Stadium.
Why the hell would Arizona State sign up to go there? You're just walking into a buzzsaw. Those places are weird. I don't know, man. I like Kenny here.
Yeah.
I like Kenny in all contexts, and I like him here. Historically speaking, these midweek games, or I say midweek, like early in the week, not Saturday games, home teams typically cover at a pretty high rate because the crowds are always fun. As a student, like at those games, like it's really fun when your team plays, especially because you're going to be on like big TV and stuff like that. And by the way, I was looking it up. They played Lamar week 1, Texas State, and they struggled. It was 34-27. So they had a little bit of a stinker in week 1 and then overcorrected like crazy, hammered UTSA. I'll be honest with you. So Arizona State, I've done pretty decent betting college football, which you can hold me accountable because we post our picks on our site, which, by the way, that's coming later today. Check that out. But I've lost twice on Arizona State betting against them. And so if they win this game, and I am going to bet against them one more time, if Texas State loses this game, I will just admit that Arizona State is my daddy.
Well, and you can't hold Texas State's week 1 performance against them. The passing game coordinator only had 30% of that stuff installed.
True.
They took it up a notch last week, and I'm sure he's going to have Arizona State's secondary schemed up. So
biggest improvement.
Week 1 to week 2, every single time. Well, it'll. Like I said, I've put money down on all this stuff, and we'll see. I'll probably lose, but that's fine. It's part of the fun. So, but yeah, for all your sports betting needs here in the state of Arkansas, go over to Bet Saracen, download the Bet Saracen app, check it out, and have some fun with us each and every week, as we'll be giving our sure to go wrong picks each and every week. So, few minutes to go here in the show. We'll get some of your comments and chats, and we have to talk about a funny story too. But I wanted to. I apologize, Mr. Timothy, for your sponsored comment. We did not get to it, but we are now. Love the show, guys. 65-3 Hogs.
Woo!
Hey, Curtis said something about 63-3. Like that's a score that would hammer a lot of those props.
Yeah, you'd probably have a nice little payout if you put a little something on each and every one of them.
Can we all agree though that they need something like that? I mean, like 65-3, whatever, but they really do. I think, just for the sake of perception, and that only matters externally, really. But you need to put on a show to kind of, like, Arkansas could win this game by a field goal, and there's going to be a segment of the fan base that's like, "Hey, listen, Auburn, they're going down. They lost to Cal. Okay, that's just how it is. Some people are glass half full, but those who are out there who are, have their heels dug in on this is it for Sam Pittman, or the people who are on the fence who just looked at that Oklahoma State thing kind of like we did and went, boy, here we go again. They need to put on a show. You haven't played at home yet. You want to keep people excited. It's too early in the season to jump off of the bridge with this team. They've been fun to watch, man. Just go out there and score, beat up on somebody, and kind of spin that narrative back a little bit. We want people going into the SEC slate being excited again, because it was almost irrational, I think, going in that Oklahoma State game. Give me that over, just a clunk of a performance, and people are like, oh, we're going to see Daddy Hugh Freeze again, and season's over. Is Pittman going to be fired after this one?
You get the reverse jinx attempts,
yeah,
where people are like trying to reverse jinx it, where they're like, oh, they're never going to win again. They're not going to win this week.
Yeah. But yeah, people are going to be that way no matter what. I just can't wait for it. And then seeing the ultimate, like, just emotion that comes after that Auburn game if and when that happens, which, let's be honest, that it absolutely will. I guess, like, I saw too, real quick, that the Razorback baseball team's been teasing an announcement at 2. Andrew, is that for a schedule?
I would imagine they're just going to release the schedule.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be
it's going to be notable. It's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be difficult, like going up against good teams in the SEC. Have a feeling.
I would imagine so. I'm interested to see who their other weekend series, because obviously we know they're going to Arlington week 2. I'm interested to see what those other series and non-conference look like, because they've had an interesting run here lately of playing like pretty good teams in the non-conference slate for series, but like not teams that like really move the needle where people are like, whoa, Murray State, whoa, you know what I mean? So I'm wondering if there's going to be a team in this non-conference slate that it's like people are like at least circling like, oh, that's a good program that we know is good. They're not gonna play, Oregon State for a 3-game set and bomb, but I think there is going to be a little bit of some interesting ones. I mean, as always, when you're playing in the SEC baseball, it's always a gauntlet, man. But I'm excited to see what that schedule looks like.
Well, you got to get SEMO in here for 4, right?
I mean, hey, got to exercise some demons. That's what it should just be. It just should be all teams that have eliminated Arkansas from the postseason of the last like 30 years. Like get Arizona. I mean, get get Missouri State in here, get SEMO, like get
TCU.
Yeah, TCU, Oregon State, just get all of them. Kansas State, obviously, they're going to play them in Arlington. Like, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Also, speaking of baseball, I had a question here from Will. He says, Andrew Ellis, what position does Nolan Souza and Brent Iredale play?
So I think Brent Iredale is going to play third. I just have seen, until someone convinces me of otherwise, I think he's going to play third base. Both guys, I feel like, are locks to be in the lineup, particularly Brent Iredale. I mean, we did a video yesterday about him on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Curtis got to find out about him in a very funny way. But I know, like, Brent Iredale is going to be in the lineup, and he's going to hit second, third, fourth. I would imagine third base is where he's going to be at. And I think Nolan Souza is a better player than Camden Koziel, who he's kind of in a competition with for second base. But I think Souza's going to be in the lineup regardless. So if Koziel ends up beating out some of the other guys like a Michael Anderson or Reese Robinette or whoever, they'll put Koziel at second and Souza at first, if that makes sense. So I think Souza is like a lock to be in the lineup. It's just a matter of if it'll be second or first base, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's an athlete that can play anywhere. You might even see that cat in the outfield. But if I had to guess today, I would say Iredale third base, Souza first base. DVH likes having an overqualified first baseman and having like a former shortstop over there. And so I think people will really like that. Nolan Souza, that kid's going to make a lot of money playing that game of baseball.
Also, shout out to Timothy Long once again. Sponsor comment says, my kid will be there for her first game. Woo Big Suey.
Oh, nice.
Oh, heck yeah.
There you go.
Very cool.
And see that, okay, I'm glad that Timothy said that, actually, because it's like you're playing at home against UAB and people are just like, who cares, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, this is a chance for your fans to see your team play at their campus, which they never do. It's like, just go out there and play and have fun and dominate. Like, do what you're supposed to do. Don't make this a weird, tragic moment for Timothy and his daughter where he has to explain to her on the way home. Yeah, sometimes they just suck at home. And like, I don't, like, just make it a fun atmosphere, a fun time where everyone can just enjoy it and build some of those core memories, man. Like, I still remember vividly, going to some of my first Razorback games. Like, that's what it's about.
Yep. No, it's just what you're saying is sometimes some kids are here seeing the Razorbacks play for the very first time.
Like the Burlesworth kids.
Like the Burles kids doing it the Burles way. Man, they need to change that script up sometimes.
You remember Michael Jordan had that good quote about that where he's like, I would always go into every game thinking like there's someone here that's never seen me play before. And like, this is going to be their impression of me. Like, I got to leave a good impression. And so just be like MJ, Arkansas.
Yeah. Just be like MJ. Few minutes left. We'll get into some of the funny stories around the country outside the state of Arkansas that we'll dive into. I did post this and somebody wanted us to talk about it for National School Picture Day. So
cool. John.
Yeah, I know. Like, could you not believe that? I mean, this is crazy to think, but I didn't have a girlfriend when I was in that age. So,
no way.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I can't believe that. I mean, I figured I would have been just having to beat him off with a stick, but yeah. So,
see, John, this has to make you feel pretty good, though, right? Like looking at this, and you're like, "Oh yeah," like because I mean, you're a much better looking man than you were back then.
Yep.
Better looking man than he was a boy.
That's right.
John, when he was a boy, he was fat and ugly. Now he's a man.
Yep. Now
I'm
just. Well, it's what's funny is like I ran to some high school friends people I went to high school with, like literally since I moved back here recently, and I hadn't seen them in forever. And one of the girls says, "Boy, you had a glow up," and I'm like, "A glow up?" And I didn't know what that meant, and apparently it meant that she says I was better looking now than then. I was like, "Oh, thank you, I appreciate it." But
Curtis, you knew what a glow up meant, right?
Yeah, but that's the way to do it, though.
Yeah,
like there's nothing worse I think than being like the person who was the hot one or sought after or whatever in high school. Then you come back for your reunion and it's like, oh, looks like the buffet has treated you well, so
yeah,
you would like to be wait, who is that? No way. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, the Mountain Dew and Doritos were really good to me back then, I can say that.
Are you a reunion guy? Have you gone to a reunion?
I just went to my 10-year.
Andrew's not old enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he
No,
is.
my 10-year will be coming up in 2 years.
Yeah.
No, I went to my 10-year and it was funny because no one left Fayetteville. So it's like no one ever, just the same people. But shout out though to Curtis for the Jurassic Park t-shirt. I do like that.
Yeah, man.
What grade were you in that?
Big dinosaur guy. Oh man, probably first or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Also, like, I'm just going to say this now. I apologize to anyone who has kids if I offend you with this statement. If you're a kid and you're not into dinosaurs, you are an absolute. You're headed down a dark path.
Yeah,
like, you are like, what are you doing, dude? You're supposed to go through the dinosaur phase.
Dude, me and my brother's favorite movie was Jurassic Park growing up, dude. Like that, it was just so cool. Like, yeah, everybody's got to have a dinosaur phase.
What year would this have been, Curtis? Like 01? No, earlier than that. This would have been like 94.
Like 9. Yeah, that's probably me. The last time Arkansas basketball won a national championship.
Jeez.
Well, I think that the reason they took the vending machines out of Fayetteville Public Schools is about the time that they saw my picture there, because they're like, okay, we got to get rid of these soda machines.
And John, you couldn't use the picture of me throwing darts on the mound that I sent?
No, we got to use this, you with a tux and whatever grade. Like, I want to guess that this was like 10th grade for you.
No, I want to say this was like right before we started school, senior year.
Oh,
because I remember we didn't actually wear the tuxes. Like, that was literally like from the belly button up. Like, they would hand us the outfit to put on right as we'd go to take that picture. Like, I wasn't actually wearing a tux that day. But yeah, as someone who peaked in high school, there's really nothing wrong with peaking in high school. I disagree with you guys' sentiment.
True. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there was like, it's funny because seeing you now and seeing you with like short hair and, you know, no hair on your face, it's like, well, just Andrew Ellis is still in that face somewhere. Like, he's still there.
There was an innocent young boy underneath here somewhere.
Yeah,
he's gone. He's dead and gone now. But
yeah, and we had to throw intern Reagan in, which I'm pretty sure like this is her kindergarten picture from like 2014. I feel like probably so, because since she's only 19, but still, we had to throw her in there in the mix.
Youngsters.
Too. Yeah, one of these kids don't even know. So, anyways, National School Picture Day, and real quick before we get out of here, guys, a few things. The Shannon Sharpe story. Your thoughts? I'm just going to ask you your thoughts.
I missed it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. Go watch an Instagram live if you'd like.
Oh, do we have the clip?
Oh man,
no, we don't.
We like money. We like having money on the monetization thing. So,
if for anyone in the chat who didn't actually hear about this, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'll be PC here, but Shannon Sharpe went live on Instagram. He can say he didn't mean to. He went live on Instagram, set his phone down, and proceeded to partake in intercourse with a young lady named Michelle. We shall assume, based on the fact that he kept calling her Michelle repeatedly. And it was not Curtis's I'm sorry, I couldn't get there. I'm sorry for saying that. I apologize. It
was not, no.
Which Shannon Sharpe did confirm on his live stream last night. Also, you know, so his agent put out a thing that was like, oh, I was hacked and blah, blah, blah. He clearly wasn't hacked, which he admitted later. But I also just feel like he purposefully did this. Did anyone else feel that way?
100% he felt he did this on purpose. Like, dude, like most people who have gone live on any sort of app knows it's not just oh, whoops, my thumb slipped. It's like, no,
yeah,
that's not a case. Yeah, he's 100% like did this on purpose. So,
like, I could almost buy if he accidentally recorded on his own phone, but like it wouldn't be live on Instagram because, like, you know, when you set your phone down, if you swipe, it does go to the camera or whatever. But Instagram Live, which I've actually never gone live on Instagram, but from what I can tell, it's not a one-click process.
No, it never is, for reasons of like this. That's why they don't make it a one-click process, for reasons like this that just happened.
But Ocho Cinco and Antonio Brown were the MVPs of the day because of this, though.
Dude, Antonio Brown is a lot of it can be MVPs on a lot of days for some of the stuff.
Okay, did y'all see that Antonio Brown, the person who runs his Twitter, got exposed?
Yeah,
UCF staffer
KJ Jefferson's chauffeur down there.
Yeah,
wasn't SJ Tui, was it?
I don't think so.
Dang, that would have been funny if it was, but no. Okay, Timothy, I'm sorry. We're going to have to keep bringing up your chats if you're going to keep paying us money. Said, good Lord, I'm 38 today. Y'all are so young. Happy birthday, Timothy.
I'm 36,
Happy birthday,
brother.
Timothy. Also, you're not supposed to give us money on your birthday. You're supposed to receive money. Like, so everybody just send Timothy a quick little, you know.
Yeah, because we're not going to refund it, obviously. Like, we could never do that. Like, just giving the money back. I mean, come on now. Yeah, he's like, y'all are so young. It's like, I'm about to be 36 next month. So it's like, I don't think that.
We would have been on the same the same football teams, man, in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out Timmy, though, man. Good birthday weekend. He's gonna celebrate his birthday
Yeah,
tonight,
how about
and then
that?
he's taking his daughter to the game. Like that genuinely makes me happy. Like
Mm.
just knowing that there's like people having wholesome experiences. Hopefully, we'll see how the game turns out. I don't want to speak too soon, but that's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's going to be an awesome time. So we had some other stories, but we can just wait till tomorrow. But that does it for us. And just to remind everybody, tonight, 8 p.m., we're going to be doing our EA Sports College Football 25 simulation between Arkansas and UAB, which hopefully goes accurately in a good way. So did last week, but we're going to do it again tonight at 8 p.m. So be sure to check it out. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page, as well as all of our social medias. You can also check out our website at InsideArkansas.com, where we are giving you all the latest up-to-date information, all the Razorbacks and everything else going on. So for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow at noon. We'll see you tonight on our live stream at 8 p.m., folks. Have a great rest of your day.